Welcome. This is our express class on Lexis Plus, and we recently just upgraded to Lexis Plus. We used to have the older Lexis Advanced database, which was very similar to what you see here. But this is kind of, it's got more bells and whistles and things to show you. So this is the main search screen, very Google-like type search screen. This is where you're going to put in right here where it says enter source name and citation. This is where you're going to enter all the things you're going to search for. Now, as I recommend with any of my legal research classes, I do teach 2 classes on legal research here. I would recommend knowing a little bit about what you're trying to search for, whether it's going to be case law, it's going to be statutes and codes, whether you're looking for forms or something like that. Know kind of the document type that you're looking for, because if you start with just typing in keywords, so let's say we just want to type in, let's say you're looking for even just a motion to dismiss, and I just hit search and I haven't done any sort of narrowing, you're going to see pretty quickly that it can get super overwhelming. And results here on the other side, once it loads here, you got well more than 10,000 results. One, there's no way you're going to actually read all that stuff. And two, there's your good chance you're going to miss something that's really important to what you're trying to find. So my recommendation is, and I will show you kind of here, even going back to a motion to dismiss, one of the things that we want to start out to, let's say this is the document you're looking for. You're looking for a form, motion to dismiss. There's a couple ways to do it. You could just leave it exactly like it is. Chances are the database, it has a form of AI in there, of course. It's going to probably be able to determine that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a form called motion to dismiss. However, if you don't narrow it, like I said, it comes with 10,000 results. But you could put it in quotation marks just to make sure the database is looking for something specific called motion to dismiss. The other thing that you can do over here under all content, now you can say, you know what, I really want a form. So you can click sample forms. And then for jurisdiction, because we're in Texas, that means what courts you're going to be filing in. You want to make sure it's Texas. Now we hit search. We've only got 55 results, and it's just picking forms. Now, that's a criminal form. You may be looking for a civil form, but now you're definitely just finding motion to dismiss. And that right off the bat can save you a ton of time just by doing that, instead of trying to go in here, trying to narrow, trying to figure out all these different types over here on the left, because there are some narrowing options here. So you could put jurisdiction here instead of on the first page. You could select, that you want a particular type of form. You can select your practice area, that sort of thing, or which court you're going to be coming out of. But that would take more clicks, just more time, things like that. So generally, this is going to sort everything by relevance, but you can change it to document title or jurisdiction or what have you, to make things easier. You can also take your search with you. So like, for instance, if you just want to take all the results and you don't want to spend time right here in the law library because you're limited on time, you could just select 10 selected, hit email, they get sent to you, and you can be on your way. And then you can look at them later. You can also print them from here or download them if you have a flash drive or something like that. Any questions on that? All right, perfect. So let's go back to the main page. So as I talk about in my legal research classes, always try to come up with a list of keywords, especially if you're going to be searching for case law. So let's say you're looking for separation of property in a divorce case. Some of the keywords you might come up with that are going to be, separation and property and divorce. Now, this is just a very simple search. There could be lots of other keywords you could use, that may pertain to this type of search. But one of the things I do want to show you here is you start out with these
and or not. They can be called Boolean operators. They can be called Boolean operators. They can be called terms and connectors. And that's what that tells the database which keywords you're looking for and how you want it to be searched. So, and in this case, it is looking for all three of those keywords: separation, property, and divorce. So if those three keywords show up in the document, it'll pull it for you. Now, if I were to say or divorce, it would only find documents that have separation and property, but they are not going to have divorce in it. Or I should say, in this case, it would be separation and property, or only documents that just have divorce in it. Now, if I put not, then that would be the one where it would just find any documents with separation and property, but nothing with divorce. So even if it has separation and property, but divorce is in it, it's going to exclude it. Does that make sense? Okay. So those are some types of terms and connectors. There are some others. For instance, if you want to find every form of the word separation, separated, separating, all these different options, you could do something like separate and do a wildcard like that, like star, for instance. There's others, but that would find every form of the word separate. Because a lot of times what you're going to run into when you're doing legal research is the attorney that wrote that pleading or the judge that wrote that opinion may use a different word. And for whatever reason, it just didn't show up as separation. So you might miss something. Another thing that you can do, instead of separation, you could use a synonym for that word. So maybe division. And a lot of legal research is going to be trial and error. You got to plug in different synonyms of words, different keywords, and eventually you will probably find the smoking gun case that you're looking for. But it takes time and it takes effort. So I'm going to leave it as division, and I'm going to select cases because I know I'm looking for case law. And then now I want to select my jurisdiction as Texas. And now I'm going to hit search. Likely I'm going to come up with a whole lot of cases. Unfortunately, there's no way to narrow it by date on that main search screen. So you would still have to come in here and now do narrowing over here, and you can click timeline. As you can see, they all start from 1848. You probably don't want to cite anything that old for a lot of reasons, but chances are, I mean, it could still very well be good law, but more than likely time difference, changes in culture and in everything, you're going to want something more recent. So one of the ways to do that, you can either scroll this across. A lot of times attorneys will try to pull cases within the last 3 years, but you can go more than that. So I'm going to do from 2018 because 2023 is not finished yet. So now I'm down to 6,122 cases. This is better, but we still got quite a few to look at. So another option that we can do, probably because one reason this has a lot of cases is a lot of people have a lot of property they got to deal with in a divorce. So it's a fairly common issue. So one of the other things that we can do here is we can select on published status. If you just want to look at the reported case, and as you can see, there's quite a few more unreported. And when it says reported, that means it's going to show up in the Southwest Reporter. Typically, these cases are going to have a little bit more weight because they were cited in a reporter. So you might want to start with those cases over all the unreported. Now, it doesn't mean the unreported can't be used in some manner or cited. They could still very well be good law. They just typically don't carry quite as much weight, as well as there could be some things in there that are redacted, especially if they're dealing with children. And so that's
there's a good reason why they're not reported cases. So now we're down to 125. That is a good kind of, it's still a lot, but it's still a good chunk of cases for us to look through. So the next thing you can do from here is you can start looking at this overview section. And in the overview section, a lot of times it's going to tell you kind of the gist of what this case is about. And it may very well tell you right off the bat that this is not exactly pertaining to my issue. But then again, it might. But that's a good place to start reading. And so you can select maybe, a dozen cases that you want to read. That way you don't have to open each document and try to read the whole case. This at least could give you a general idea of what's going on. The other thing you can look at here that might also give you an idea if this is, pertaining to your issue is right down here with all the different color-coded keywords. So this is our keyword search. We can see how many times our keywords have popped up in this particular case. And because all three keywords have popped up, there's a good chance that this probably deals with our particular issue. So let's say you've read the overview, you've read this section here, and you're like, okay, yes, this definitely pertains to my issue. You're not 100% because obviously you haven't read the whole case, but this might be one I want to take with me or email to myself or what have you to read later. So the next thing you want to look at, you want to see if this has any sort of negative things to it, meaning, is it been overruled in some way, meaning it's not good law, and it's definitely not something you want to cite because, for instance, if a attorney were to cite something like that, that's bad law, they can be charged with malpractice. Now, as a pro se litigant, you wouldn't be charged with that, but obviously it would still really hurt your case by citing something that's not good law anymore. So this one still is going to be fine. It's got some citing references. Some attorney has come in here that's, obviously working for Lexis. They put some sort of analysis in there, potentially some secondary resources that might explain things a little more. So this is definitely a case we would still want to take with us. Same thing with anything with I, meaning it's got some citation information, either a following case or a preceding case that might dive a little bit deeper into our particular issue. That might be one you want to take with you. Obviously, you want to read the overview and the keywords here first. And then anything obviously with a green plus mark, that means it's got very positive treatment, meaning a subsequent case has upheld this one. So it's definitely really good law, and that one would carry even more weight in your argument because more than one judge has already said, yes, this is the proper way to make a decision on this particular issue. Now, if you come down here and you start finding some with these yellow triangles, that means there's possibly some negative treatment, meaning you might want to think twice before using that case in your argument because it could have been questioned in some way by a subsequent case, another judge, and it would probably carry less weight in your argument. Now, if it comes up with a red stop sign, you want to avoid that one completely and not even look at it because that one's definitely been overruled and it is not good law and you don't want to even touch it. You have any questions about just a general case law search? Okay, so I'm going to jump into this first case again. Yes.
So is there a filter that we can see the bathroom? Just keep it.
What?
Just keep the bathroom, the yellows and reds is there.
Oh, do you want to see like what they look like? Oh, you mean filter them out? Don't think you can actually. That's actually a really good question.
It's easy because you can see.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you can do that, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Let's see over here. You're actually the first person that's ever asked me that question. No, that's a great question. And no, I don't think you can.
Okay.
I hadn't even thought of that before. Now you can come up here to some of this like Rabble view and you can see which cases carry more weight because they got a bigger bubble. And they typically have more citation references. So that's another way to kind of look at it. And you can kind of, see all the different warning signs here. Yeah, I don't think you can do it here either. Interesting. I wonder why. Oh. Anyway, all right. So let's go back to, I think it eliminated. All right, let's jump into this case. So right off the bat, you can see where this came from. It came out of the Supreme Court of Texas. You can see when it was argued and when the opinion was delivered. You also got all the citation information and where you could find it in a book. This is also how you would cite it if you were to put this into a brief or a motion or what have you. You can see its prior history. You can see where it came out of Fort Worth, out of the appeals court. Here's another place that you can pull some more of those synonym keywords. So especially if this is a case that really deals with your issue. So for instance, community property is something that gets divided quite a bit in a divorce compared to separate property. So that might be another keyword you want to come up with. Partition, that's another keyword. So there's a lot of things in here that you might be able to pull. I know it's hard for me sometimes to come up with keywords. So this is another place to kind of come up with them. Over here on the left, you can jump to a particular section of this case. So if you want to jump right to the opinion, you can do that, see how the judge ruled. So that's one place you can do that. Up here at the top, you can see all the different citing decisions. So apparently this case has been cited many times. And it looks like all just kind of neutral cites, but it's been cited almost 20 times, 18 to be exact. So this case has been used quite a few times. So chances are it's going to carry quite a bit of weight, assuming it deals with your particular issue. You can see some of the other citing sources. So for instance, a attorney for Lexis has come through here and made some citations, including potentially some secondary resources. So as you can see here, 11 treatises have been connected to this, 7 statutes. So you can kind of scroll down here and see what's been added as a citing source into this particular case. And then potentially, obviously you want to read the law itself. So if this deals with separation of property, let's say one of these family codes, then you can read and see how the legislature wants it done. Now, obviously in a common law system like we have, case law also carries quite a bit of weight, not just the statute or code. So just because it can be interpreted differently by a judge. So you may read it one way, and that's why attorneys do case law research, and a judge may interpret it a different way. So you need to know how both are particularly interpreted. You can also see the history. So obviously you can see where it came from, what other courts it came out of. You can see what those judges ruled on the particular issue. So sometimes you can get kind of a clear history of how this was ruled and how they came to that decision. Any other questions about case law search? Okay, let's go back to the main page. There's a bunch of other things you can do from this particular screen. I do want to show the kind of explore section. Oh, by the way, if you do have a citation, for instance, either a statute or a case, you can just type it in here and it'll pull it up immediately. So if you have that 630 SW3D 218, for instance, and that was a particular citation, you would just hit search, it would pull it up immediately. Or let's say you had Texas Government Code 81.101, you'd be able to pull that up immediately as well. Okay. So the kind of browsing option here, so you can jump to any type of document type that you would like here. For the most part, people usually go straight to cases or statutes, but some people go to these secondary materials, treatises and guides. Maybe you want to see a sample brief or motion, you could go here. Of course, the sample forms as well. Those get used quite a bit.
Some of these we do not have access to, like for instance, the public records. It's just not part of my plan. Unfortunately, they still add it here and they don't remove it for whatever reason. But if you click on something that says out of plan, then you know we don't have it. You can also come here to state, and we can click on Texas, and you can see the entire Texas practice page where you can see all the different things I have subscriptions to. So obviously all Texas federal and state cases, all of our statutes and legislation, administrative code, and so on. But then you have access to all of our secondary material here. These are not things you're going to want to cite like in a case, for instance, but they would probably explain a lot of things to you. They're all written by attorneys, of course, and it would give you some instruction on how to proceed, as well as it would probably give you forms to, file with the court. So we have a bunch of them, obviously, on different practice areas, criminal and family being big, as well as probate and estates. Any questions about just browsing? Okay. The last thing I want to show you before, if you have any other specific questions, I do want to show off the practical guidance section. So what's really great about practical guidance, it kind of gives you step-by-step instructions on how to proceed. So like, for instance, if you want to draw up a will, for instance, you could come down here and find a will, or you could search for it. These are kind of some of the topics that they have. So like trust and estates, you clicked on that and you clicked on wills, it's going to give you a practice notes, and in some cases a whole packet of instructions on how to do a will yourself. Now you might want to obviously select your jurisdiction here. It's like, for instance, I'm going to find Texas. There's 11 different wills packets here on various topics that you can follow that will give you instruction on how to do it. So some of them obviously cover multiple jurisdictions, but they would all be practical toward Texas if you were going to file that type of document. Going back to the home page of practical guidance, again, you can see all the different practice areas. Now, not every one of them is going to have a Texas component. So that's going to be something to be paid attention to, meaning it's going to be more general, and it won't be specific to Texas. So you may have to go back to legal research and find one of our Texas practice guides that might help you kind of fill in the blanks for a Texas related issue. Okay. And again, searching here, same kind of thing as you would on legal research. You'd use your keywords, maybe a title of a document, application for probate, something like that. You can do all that here. Obviously narrow by jurisdiction or narrow by practice area. They don't typically, I don't believe, they have some criminal stuff in here, but for the most part, it's going to be all civil related things. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Well, that's all that I was planning on covering today, unless you've got, anything, a specific search strategy you're curious about, or.
Oh, really?
Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And we will have another class next week. So, yeah. And I can't remember what's next week. Is it Westlaw? Might be Westlaw. Anyway, it'll be very similar to using this database. We'll just show you the other one. Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.